Hello, I'm Jane Mangold, restoration ecologist from the Eastern Oregon Agricultural Research Center, here to present an Ag Minute. This week I'll be talking about how plant communities change over time through a process called succession. We are all familiar with this process, even if we're not familiar with the term. Just look out your window and witness the expansion of juniper woodlands into sagebrush grasslands. What we're witnessing is called secondary succession, or changes in a plant community on a site that already had plants growing on it. Other examples include plant community change following fire, or the conversion of old farm fields to perennial grasses, wildflowers, and eventually shrubs and trees. In contrast, primary succession takes place on soil previously unvegetated. Good examples include plant communities developing on lava that flowed from volcanoes in Hawaii, or glacial moraines, such as those surrounding Lake Wallowa in northeastern Oregon. Throughout this week, I'll be talking more about succession and how we might use it as a framework for managing rangelands. Yesterday, I introduced the term succession, or the process of plant communities changing over time. We usually categorize plants as early, mid, or late successional, depending on when they occur in successional time. Early successional plants have high growth rates, produce lots of seeds, and are typically annuals like sunflower, Russian thistle, and tumble mustard. We often characterize early successional species as weedy because they are not ideal for livestock forage or for wildlife habitat. In contrast, late successional plants are long-lived perennials that grow slowly and are not heavy seed producers. Examples of late successional species include bluebunch wheatgrass, Idaho fescue, and sagebrush. Late successional plants usually provide good livestock forage and wildlife habitat. Mid-successional plants have growth rates, lifespans, and rangeland value somewhere in between early and late successional species. Bottlebrush squirreltail and rabbitbrush are good examples of mid-successional rangeland species. Tomorrow I'll talk more about early, mid, and late successional plants. I'd like to further discuss differences between early, mid, and late successional plants. Because early successional plants grow very quickly and produce a lot of seeds, they need lots of nutrients and water. On the other hand, late successional plants are fairly tolerant of low levels of nutrients and water because they grow slowly and live a long time, retaining much of their biomass from year to year. Researchers in Colorado found that sagebrush steppe could be kept in an early successional stage by adding nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. When nutrients were lowered at the same site, the plant community progressed towards late successional plants. Knowledge of how nutrient availability affects succession may be very useful in the management of invasive weeds, which usually behave like early successional plants. Spotted knapweed, a major noxious weed throughout the West, was found to be much less competitive with bluebunch wheatgrass when soil nitrogen availability was decreased. At the Ag Experiment Station, we are further investigating the potential of using soil nitrogen availability to manage noxious weeds. Today I'd like to outline 3 conditions that are necessary for succession to occur: disturbance, seed availability, and species performance. In order for the composition of the plant community to change, a disturbance must occur that kills the existing vegetation and opens up space where a new species can establish. Second, seeds of the new species must be able to reach the recently disturbed space. Third, how well the new species grows and reproduces determines if the new species survives at the new site. If this seems complicated, consider a vegetable garden. The gardener plows or tills the garden in the fall or spring, which is a controlled disturbance. After tilling, he introduces the seed, or controlled colonization. He then fertilizes, waters, and pulls any weeds to boost the performance of the plants he desires. Ultimately, he has a garden that is different, if even slightly, from his garden last year. This week I've been giving you a crash course on succession, or plant community change. Succession on rangeland may be directed through management. Disturbance, which opens up safe sites for more desirable plants, may be controlled by varying the size, severity, and timing of controlled burns, grazing, and herbicide applications. Seed availability may be controlled by considering dispersal mechanisms like direct seeding, wind, animals, and flooding. Finally, plant performance can be controlled through many techniques such as grazing, fertilization, irrigation, and herbicides. For example, suppose your rangeland is dominated by Russian knapweed. You may disturb the site by killing the existing vegetation with herbicide. Next, you address seed availability by direct seeding with desirable species. Finally, you could boost the performance of your seeded species by delaying grazing for at least 2 seasons and spot spraying any residual Russian knapweed. This is just one example of how considering succession can guide rangeland management and restoration. Thanks for listening this week.